Cancer, welcome to your reading. I've laid the cards already, so just to give you an idea of what's going on here, I think this is a reading about recalibration in order to bring about some sort of very wealthy new start in your life that has a mixture of incredible strength and incredible vulnerability, but it's an epic quest. And I love it. So stick around if that sounds like it might be for you. So I'm just going to dive in and have a look. So we've got the Chariot in your inner self. What am I looking at on him today? He looks a bit tired, like he's been up all night. I'm looking at the wand in his hand. And the pillars on either side of his chariot, those golden pillars, they look like they need something on them to me today. Like he's going off to find something to put onto the pillars. Like instead of those buildings being in the background, which look almost like they're on the pillar, but they're not. So that to me is talking about the kind of energy that's other people in those buildings are being put onto a pedestal, but they're not quite fitting it even. But because of perspective, it looks like they're on the pedestals. Do you see what I mean? And I feel like what he's doing is going off to find something that's appropriate to him and his energy to put on these pedestals. So something that's not about the collective. Probably, yeah, when I'm looking here, it feels about putting yourself in the center of something now. So what are you going to go off and find to put on top of this pedestal? So that's how you're feeling on the inside. And it's the card of a mythic quest, the Chariot. It's going to be fast and furious. It's going to take a lot of energy to keep those two sphinxes going. Though you don't use reins, as you can see, he's able to do it just through the sort of force of his will. But he's going by the stars above his canopy, and he's got all the energy of the preceding major arcana that go before him. He's card number 7, and there's an element of each one of those that's here, like the stone base of the Emperor, this symbol which is very sort of resonant underneath the wings, which is very resonant to the Lovers, the black and white, which reminds us of the High Priestess, etc., etc. So he's got a lot of power, but it's fast and furious. And how that makes you act in the outside world is, with this Ace of Pentacles, I think you're offering something. Usually it's that you're offered a new start, but here I feel as if you're offering it. It just popped out of my head. Or you're actively taking this new physical start. There are a lot of pentacles in this reading, and you might be investing in something that is to do with a new start. It might feel worth it for you. Yeah, what's standing out here? How realistic the hand looks. It's like something's becoming more and more of a realistic prospect for you. To me, that hand looks very realistic compared to a lot of her very simplistic drawings, Pamela Coleman Smith. So I wonder whether this idea of this new start is becoming an actual probability, or it feels more possible to you. And so you're grasping, you're taking it, you're prepared to put action into it and offer something back. In the basis of the reading, we have the Four of Swords. So this is you resting and recalibrating. It's healing that leads to something quite magnificent, as we can see in the rest of your cards. He looks like he's the other way round to me today. I've got another set. That might be me, and it might be something to do with this reading. Yeah, look at to me, normally, let me get you another version here. I'm used to seeing him facing the other way. Give me one moment, because it's just interesting. So it's like the rest has allowed you to change perspective somehow. No. He is always that way. So it's my mind. He is always that way. That's so strange. In my mind, he suddenly seemed as if he was facing in the other direction. Okay, that's got to mean something. So the rest is giving you a change of perspective. That's what I'm meant to be seeing. That's just blowing my mind. Anyway, there you go. This is how these readings work. He's being healed. It changes his perspective. It's like a sort of minor version of the hangman. It's that sort of, as if it's pivoted through this rest. This active healing, resting, getting all of your sides aligned has made you suddenly veer into a completely another direction. I love the warmth of this purple, this regal purple, that makes me think you're going to take up quite a lot of regal space in this new pivot, which I love. So the rest is really clearly part of this reading. That has been something that's made a huge difference here. And in the recent past, the Ten of Wands, very heavy energy of addiction, workaholism, having too much on your plate. It is just a stage, but I can see with your head deep into those wands that maybe lots of little details that you're carrying, responsibilities that you're carrying, might have felt a little bit much recently. So, but that's in the past. I don't see any other energy of that kind of obsessional worry, and maybe this is what you've, and sort of burden and workaholism, and maybe this is what you're now healing from. So then, as a potential outcome, we have the World and the Ten of Pentacles. So that's obviously incredibly fortuitous. The Ten and the World represent culminations. It, to me, feels as if you bring this process into its full maturity, and it puts you in the center of your wreath, and everything is completely the wreath of success, and everything is completely as it should be. With the Ten of Pentacles, we are talking about some sort of very, very strong foundation, some sort of wealth that you're building here. And I love that because we're supported by lots of other pentacle energy. You've got the King and Queen of Pentacles coming up, and the Page. So, and with the Ace of Pentacles, what it shows is whatever this new attitude is, whatever this realistic offer that you're grasping and communicating with, is growing into something that can really sustain you, and in a real way, and it probably means money. So I love that. Let's see if we can see anything else here. The kind of complication of this detail underneath the back of the bottom of the chair of the man with the white hairs, is that two moons that we see together. Those, let me point at it, these two red bits. Oh, those two little red bits. Is that two crescent moons? There's quite a lot of detail there that I'm really looking at. There's lots of symbols. I need the big red glasses. I was slightly put off from the big red glasses because Instagram must have heard me through this talking about them and served me up a comedy show in America talking about women of a certain age buying red glasses, and I thought, oh God. Anyway, mine work very, very well, and I don't care for doing this kind of work, so I'm not going to be put off. Yeah, just a lot of complicated energy with these two crescent moons embedded right into it, and some sort of structures coming off it in black, as if the moons, your intuition has led you here somehow. And I'm also looking at this tiny little tower point just above that roof. Let's get that into focus for you. What's that? This one here. So small details jumping out, and in the World, this red at the bottom of the wreath of her success, binding it, tying it tightly together. And it's at the top as well. And she looks very, very happy today. So that's wonderful. We are working towards putting you in the center of your wreath of success and building some sort of wealth from this new start that comes from you suddenly getting onto your mythic quest, you suddenly understanding what your energy should be used for. Now I'm going to quick tea break because I've got some beautiful heartfelt tea from my friend's company, Wilder, but gosh, I should remember what it is. Anyway, it's not a paid sponsorship, it's just a beautiful tea that she gave me when I was feeling a bit heartbroken last year. And this cup is from my friends in Italy, so I'm bringing a little Italy with me. Beautiful. So, coming up, in the near future, we have this other pentacle, the the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles traditionally is always paid very fairly for what she does. She's highly valued. She's the bougie queen. She looks after everyone else. She has a beautiful home. Everything's rather nice around her. She'd have her nails done. She'd be just so, but she would also look after others, and if she was doing a job, she'd expect to be paid fairly for it, and she'd also expect respect within her own house. I'm looking at her big green cloak that comes all the way from her crown, which makes me think of sort of nature informing where her regality comes from, as if she has the sort of protection of these nature spirits, and around her is this beautiful spring scene. Pears underneath that green in her seat. Do you see on the stone there are a couple of pears here? I keep mentioning it. They're very good for lungs at this time of year. And look at that goat on the armrest. So there's a lot of power in her. Pears, if they're making me think of lungs, I suppose that's a sort of full inhalation, exhalation, fully engaged in life. Some people, when they do breath work, might exhale very shallowly. So they're not good at letting go of things, but maybe inhale more deeply, or the other way around. Maybe they can't get enough of an inhale, indicating that they don't absorb enough from life. And then they can exhale, they can let go, but they don't take enough. So there's a deficit. A strange thing to come through, but that's what I'm thinking of. And here I feel like she's got that imbalance, because pears, lungs, that's what I'm thinking about here. And then the energy of the goat, this virile, and the pears are all behind her as well on this chair. This very virile energy. I really must, next time I'm going to get those red glasses, because I can see something up here that I don't know what it is. And it's looking like a little bit of a snail, but it could be, yeah, it looks like a snail shell. It could be a pear, but so the snail makes me think of the Nine of Pentacles, who's obviously so resplendent, which is a similar energy. So maybe that's what I'm meant to see today. And this bit of green coming up behind her. You know, nature, inhale, exhale, reciprocity in how much you receive and take from life. Pears, good lung health. For me, lungs, when they're out of whack, means grief. So she's not grieving anymore if you have been grieving something. And then the virility of the goat. I love that. Okay, so this is, whatever it is you're doing is increasing your sense of well-being. And because I associate her with spring, maybe as the spring in the Northern Hemisphere, and obviously the autumn if you're in Australia or New Zealand or wherever, that as that change happens, maybe there's going to be some sort of sense of culmination with this very beautiful reciprocity, where you're being highly valued. And in your attitude, the King of Pentacles, so they're right next to each other in the way this reading goes, which tells me there is great strength around wealth and value and creating some new actual stability in your life. So you have both of these characters here, and then straight after the page. Wow. So it's like they're all clustering together to form this kind of incredibly strong energy. And the 10. So the only one we haven't got is the Knight of Pentacles, who I love. But, you know, you've got almost everybody else in that royal suit, and the 10. The King of Pentacles today, he has got his foot on this at the bottom, which is like a sort of dragon that he's slayed, and he's armoured up. He's ready to fight for your rights. I'm always curious as to whereabouts he is, because he looks like he's just outside the castle, because he's on we see the ramparts or the edge of the castle, the castellation, but he looks like he's in nature outside the village, outside the wall of the village, and that's reminding me of this. Very much so. Look, blue and red castellations here. So when we said about the, I said about the, or we, who knows who's running this thing at this stage, when I talked about you're on a quest to put something on those two pedestals that's for you. It's not just about the whole village. Here, he's because we've got that reminder, but he's outside of it and there's all this nature and he's slayed something here, this dragon. It feels like he's on this hunt for you. Now, they would go quite well on your pedestals, wouldn't they? Those two bulls either side of him. They look like they could be saying, we could go up there, which would be very interesting. And then we've got the vine. So let's remember that. He's got the pink flowers that we see here at the top of the Queen of Pentacles. He's got them in his crown, like she's been decorating him. Here you go, darling. I've got something from my garden from you. So there's an enormous tenderness while there's also a strength. And it's just beautiful, natural, strong energy. I love it for you. I really love it. So in your environment, the Page of Pentacles, you're learning something new about how to build this wealth. Instructed by all these regal pentacles, you are learning how to bring this into fulfillment. I love it. You are enjoying the journey. You feel committed to it. The Page of Pentacles is an incredibly good student. There are messages coming to you from it. We see this field here that's ploughed and ready to go. Maybe he's about to place that pentacle in it. So you've grasped this pentacle that's in your outer attitude and you're now about to plant it. And you've learned a lot. This here reminds me of a group of trees. It just popped into my mind. It's never done this before. That's just outside it's along the way towards, sorry, I'm just getting a bit more light because it looks a bit dim. I've turned the setting down on my light so that it doesn't blind me to a warmer colour, but I don't know that you can see that much of the cards. Anyway, that group of trees reminds me of a group of trees. So I'm lucky enough to have met some wonderful people who do a pilgrimage every. I've done many pilgrimages with them to Stonehenge on summer solstice and at other times of year. I think I've done winter solstice. Yeah, we did it this year. Actually, I did it on my own with my boyfriend. That's a story for another day. But on your way, I've done it on my own and initially introduced to it by this beautiful group of pilgrims. We stop at this group of trees. There's two parts of the trees on the landscape that it reminds me of. One is there's a burial mound that has this beautiful tree on top of it, so it's just one tree. And that sort of has a lot of that in it. So I'm thinking something that you've buried, some ancestor who might be helping you, something that's part of your heritage. But also, again, on the same sort of theme, we go through this beautiful grove of yew trees on our way. And they're very ancient. And we've had the most incredible moments singing with the yew trees and speaking the word yew to them. When really the first time I did it, I almost felt as if we had ancestors at our back. So the fact that this is reminding me of that Stonehenge landscape and both of these bits of tree remind me of ancestors. So I want you to think about in your environment, not just who you've got in your home, not who you've got in your work, but also I feel like the ancestors are coming to help at the moment, which is really, really exciting. Help you because they like this project that you're working on. How beautiful. Right, in your hopes and fears, we have the 5 of Wands, the 7 of Swords, and the 2 of Cups. In your process of making a partnership, of melding this beautiful part of your energies, I think, I don't think this is about love. I think it's about an activity that brings you wealth. So something that's very you. But you're making a partnership with this activity. So you hope for that, and you also hope that you have the drive to get in and fight for it with the 5 of Wands. So that's a bit better. We're definitely going to have to turn the light up again. It's so blinding, though, when you do it. Can I be bothered to do it now? No, we're not going to do that yet. So the 5 of Wands I really like because it's jumping in and competing for something and being in it to win it. But it can also be quite hectic, and some people don't love it. They feel like it could be a bit of a fight. But I don't think that. I think you're hoping you have the energy to fight for this healed partnership between parts of yourself. Maybe it's representative of the two sphinxes on the chariot. But you're worried that about how much energy you've got to fight for this, hoping to have enough, and also hoping not to have your energy stealed. Stealed? It's so funny. When you're doing these readings, I mean, I do misspeak generally in life sometimes, but those words come out for a reason. You're hoping not to have your energy stealed. Stealing one's energy means having to toughen up in order to get something done. I don't think you want to become rigid. I think you want to be strong but not rigid. You want your energy not to be stolen, which is what I was actually trying to say. But I think because I misspoke it in that way, I think what we're talking about is you don't want, in the process of competing for this and jumping in and making this partnership with this new activity, you don't want to become rigid. Maybe, why would you feel you would be rigid? Maybe because the pentacles represent such sort of structure that you're a bit frightened that you can't commit to that much structure at this moment. Maybe that's it. Is all of this making you feel a little bit mollycoddled and sort of held too quickly? Are you worried about... It's only a worry. I don't believe there's anything in it. Because it just seems so incredibly perfect, this activity. You must go for it. So it might just be something you generally worry about, perhaps because in the past you've taken on too much. This is stealing your energy for a task. You don't want that sense of burden anymore. You want a lightness with it. You want it to feel like those kids fighting for something, but also having a laugh, okay? And without any malice. So there's a lightness that you want to bring in. And in your final outcome, we have this beautiful 6 of Cups and this major 7 of the Strength. So we've got the 7 going to the 8. So interestingly, last year, from when I'm recording this, no matter when you're watching it, was the year of Strength, this card. And the 8th is... Sorry, this is the 8th. Last year was a Chariot year. That's not true. Maybe this has got them in a different direction. 5, 6, 7, 8. Previous year was a Chariot year, so scrap that. I'm going somewhere wrong with that. Last year was a Strength year, and this year is the Hermit with the 9. But it's like maybe you're bringing something from last year that you learnt to use your strength, to use your ability to be this female magician. Because this is the card of nostalgia. So last year something's happened that you're bringing forward. You're using all your strength to alchemize, to be the female magician, to bring things into the way they should be. And there's this beautiful 6 of Cups energy, which is so lively and not at all steeled. It's so fresh. So it tells me that you're bringing something into life that you really love from when you were a kid. So this is great. Let me just check there's nothing out of those that wanted to jump forward. The paving behind them. I don't know why that would be so strong to me today. Paving, laying down paving. Maybe you laid down the way towards this last year. The tongue of the lion. The yellow behind her. So, let's pull a card from the Enchanted Forest Oracle Tarot in order to catch this. Whoa! No. What's up? Right, we've got the male magician, the 7 of spells. We've got this one landing on the... Oh, that's nice. The 4 of challenges, which is, I think, where you're headed. But let's just put these back in because... Unless I should just take those ones that were... No, we've got too many. I don't want this to go on forever. There's some really nice cards. I think the cards are just really excited for you. Let me see. Right, let's start again. Just 1 or 2. We can take 2, but we just... Oh, they're giving us 4. Here we go. The 2 of Cups, which we've already got in your hopes of it. They've given us 5. The 4 of Boons, which is being stuck like the 4 of Pentacles. The Wise Woman, who's the High Priestess. The 8 of Challenges. and the Seeker of Spells. I'm going to be really stubborn and say, no, what I asked for was just 1 or 2. There we go. 2, 3, 4. So there's a lot of kind of wanting to talk to you about something. Okay, 4, we'll compromise. It's twice as many as I needed. 8 of Spells, messages coming towards you, important messages, or you giving out important messages. 4 of Visions, not knowing what to accept. Like, this is like the 4 of Cups, a bit like the 4 of Pentacles that was in that other big one. The 7 of Visions, which is having everything a bit unclear as well. And then the 5, the oldest one, who's like the Hierophant. Okay, so there's an element of not being clear on something here. Maybe it's through this fear that you've got about having your energy taken. I don't want to read too much, but let's just read the praise. So 4 of Visions. 4 of Visions. So that's when things get a bit stuck, and you're stuck in not wanting to take an offer. So you're being told to go for this, but we see you doing that. Dissatisfaction, cynicism, ennui and boredom, an ingrate's response to life. I don't see any element of that. Maybe this is where you were at before. Have you forgotten where you left your bliss? Maybe you've been hoping for an emotional lottery win or an earth-shaking epiphany to awaken your enthusiasm. The truth is, lasting happiness is made up of small moments. It's a matter of opening your eyes to the wonder around you. I think you're doing that. Let's see, this will become clear. 8 of Spells. Maybe that's for anyone who's a little bit cynical watching this, who says, no, there's nothing new. News, incoming messages, maybe it tells a story. You go from that to lots of news and incoming stories, like the Ace of Pentacles. Maybe that's it. And maybe the ennui and the boredom, it comes from being overburdened. Okay, let's go with that story. So you were there, not taking life's offers, and then lots of incoming news and messages, swiftness, aiming towards a goal. The appearance of the owls in a reading signifies news is on its way. It means that energy is increasing for any endeavour to which you apply your full will and intention. Things are speeding up and moving towards a positive conclusion or reward. Watch the skies. I think this is encouragement that the chariot is starting. And then we have the 7 of Visions, which indicates like confusion, a riddle with no answer. Wait for clarity. Do not act yet. So the energy is moving forward. The gazing bowl is telling you that many futures are possible, but nothing has settled yet. This card is also an admonition against escaping into delusion. Your lack of direction may be the result of preferring fantasy to reality. If seeking divinatory guidance only makes you more confused, stop asking for now. Badgering the oracle will only muddy the waters. If you ask too many questions, you'll get too many answers. So you're still in this journey, and there's nothing concluded yet. But through those moments of confusion, we have the 5, who is the Hierophant. But here she appears as the oldest one. Teaching, traditions, religion and mythology, wise counsel, true authority and expertise. And it says, do you see the owl? So the owl right there in the top corner is like those owl messengers. The oldest one reminds us having a historical perspective is reassuring in times of trouble, and having mythological or religious perspectives helps us find meaning in our lives. Tales, legends and laws have been handed down from one generation to generation, because they're a vital part of shared humanity. Maybe this is saying, if you have a moment of confusion, please remember the ancestors are around, and they can... their stories, your family stories, might be able to help you out at the moment. Right, I think more clarity will come when we just add a couple more. So now we've got one from the Shining Tribe Tarot, which is Temperance. Okay, it might be talking about this pause. Maybe I've been so enamoured by the idea of you wanting to get going in the Chariot, which is your inner self, that I'm ignoring the fact that there's a bit of a pause while things solidify. And maybe that's what's coming through. It's saying, don't get bored or put off. Just because you're getting all the messages to move, there's a bit of confusion. You need to talk to the ancestors a bit before you get going. Right, let's have a word from her. Temperance, number 14. So here we go. So I'm not going to read all of her again because she's very dense and beautiful. Balance. Find the middle way. Avoid extremes. Calm, serenity, power without aggression. Caution. This card sometimes counters the impetuousness of the fool. The word temperance originally meant to mix water with wine. In ancient times, it was higher in alcohol. Therefore, this card can mean mix together different aspects of a problem. Okay, I like that. It's saying, just because you've got the Chariot, just because there's some wonderful offer on the table, there is a note of caution. Don't act before you're ready. I don't think it's super negative. I just think that you might need to listen to the ancestors first. There's a paradox here. Temperance shows us genuine freedom. Such openness can become frightening. Perhaps we hide ourselves in hard layers of the devil to escape from free will, when we must find our way out through the Tower and subsequent cards. So maybe wanting to kind of keep going and being unleashed is frightening you a bit, and then you're like, I can't take any more of this. But just talk to your ancestors. The distorted layers contain symbols of health. Beyond the dark. Oh, this is the devil. We don't need him. Why am I on the devil suddenly? Oh, okay. So that's strange. I went straight to the devil. We're going straight towards your fears. Don't do that. Okay. I read the first bit that I read is absolutely right. The middle way, obviously. Echoing the suns on the hands of the death, we see concentric circles of energy over the hands of the angel. Those hands there definitely need more light. Okay. Their light and dark colours represent the duality we first saw in the separate figures of the magician and the high priestess. So you've got the female magician, and we've mentioned the high priestess when we look at the Chariot. A green river flows back and forth between them, a bit like that green on her. Okay, nature. Having surrendered to life and gone through death, we can combine the different qualities of action and stillness, rationality and intuition, masculine and feminine. Okay, it's just asking you to kind of have a moment of alchemy, I think. The fish on the left swimming to the right echoes the fish in the high priestess. On the right and moving left, we see a fish with its bones visible. This X-ray can be style of art appears in shamanic cultures, where the shaman sees into the essence of reality. The central part of the skeleton forms the glyph for shining vision. The skeleton fish swims to the left, the side of the waning moon. Life moves towards death, but the other fish with its multicoloured scales swims to the right to rebirth. It says this is a big moment, and just alchemize it really, really carefully. There's a harmony here, but don't move before you're ready to move. Listen to the ancestors. I think this is really important. Let's pull a couple of oracle cards. You've got everything set up to do this, so I'm not worried for you. I just think the cards wanted to look at a bit more nuance before you rush off in that energy of the... Yeah, warrior heart and thunder drum. So here we see you having the strength, as I'm saying, you've got the strength card with warrior of the heart. And thunder drum means wait for the moment of epiphany before you go, the way I'm saying it now with that lightning strike. You're doing everything you need to drum up what you need, but just wait till you actually know how to move in the right direction. It's okay to pause for a moment. There's lots of messages coming in. You need the clarity. And here we have change and dragonfire spirit and passage. And I was talking about the stones at Stonehenge, and here she's at a monument that doesn't look dissimilar. So the passage, and when I was talking about Stonehenge, I was really thinking about the ancestors. Your passage to this change comes through listening to your ancestors. Some work needs to be done with them. I wonder what it is. Let's get you a Divine Muses Oracle. You need to listen. There's too many there. What have we got? Sacred Witch, Celestial Harmony, Sea Priestess, and Group Mind. No, we're going to just take one. Could we have one to talk about this? No. Just one. There we go. Sin Eater, which has got the goat. We've got two. It's not playing with me. And Raven King. That's interesting. I was looking at that goat. Sin Eater and Raven King. Where is the book? So let's start with Sin Eater. 141. Scapegoat, forgiveness, release. The Sin Eater is inviting us to cast away our burdens. So that's the burdens that we saw in the Ten of Wands in your past. He may ceremoniously take them on for us, but we must look at our mistakes before letting them go. This is part of your path. A sin eater was someone who ritually removed the sins from a person or a household, particularly a recent deceased person, to absolve them from their sins. Largely considered folklore by cultural anthropologists, there are legends of religious practices in Shropshire, England, and by the Aztecs of Mesoamerica civilizations about sin eaters. That's an interesting two places for that practice to come up. Other ancient civilizations had similar customs. In ancient Judaism, a sacrificial goat or scapegoat was used during ritual and then cast out into the desert, carrying away the sins and burdens of the community. We also see the portrayal of Sin Eater in the story of Jesus, in which he offered his life to atone for all of humanity's sins, and then became known as the Lamb of God. In ancient Greece, a ritualistic practice of scapegoating involved banishing a person from the community. A slave, thief, or beggar would typically be chosen to be exiled from the community in order to purify it after a disaster. Harsh, man. They were cast out for specific annual festivals. Pharmakoi, they were called. The Sin Eater can be a challenging card. It offers a message about releasing whatever weighs us down. So we know you've got something weighing us down in the near future, in the recent past. This isn't necessarily about religious misconduct that would deem us sinners, though you may have feelings about this too. It's about any remorse we may feel from wrongdoings. What do you need to let go of? Is there something you regret and want to get off your chest? There are ways to do this by talking to a friend, counsellor, or spiritual teacher. The word sinner is certainly a charged religious term. However, we are human, flawed, or prone to error. We, especially in the West, don't like to admit our mistakes. But the Sin Eater is here to request that we take responsibility for them and then move on. We can deny or transmute our mistakes into something. We can deny our mistakes or transmute them into something positive, where we can acquire wisdom and understanding. You don't have to hold on to guilt and shame of your blunders anymore. Instead, accepting them will bring wholeness and the knowledge that there's always potential for growth. So then our self-esteem will strengthen. So you might need to forgive someone else, make amends. You may be being too hard on yourself. This work takes time and patience and compassion. So that might be why we've got a little halt in the action. And then it says, in this card, a white photo shows a goat sitting in a desert. So she's used old photographs to create this art. A cosmic wash of hues bursts above his head. He is our sin eater, ready to munch up our sins for us, a literal scapegoat like the ancient goats of yore. The spiral of chaos above his head illustrates the universe. Gosh, it really is very dark. And its vastness. The cosmos can stand in for Sin Eater, and so can the desert for matter. They can act as expanse into what we want to release our burdens into. So coming up in the near future, I really looked at that goat on her armrest there. So maybe she's part of the process in order to bring you this great worth. And then the other card we've got here is the Raven King. Let's have a look. he must be right at the end. 2, 4, 5. Yeah, he's one of the really developed themes. Death, decomposition, transmutation, and discipline. The Raven King is the gateway to the mysteries and inner world. To the ancient alchemists, the raven or crow was often seen as the symbol for the initiation towards the attainment of enlightenment. The raven was always seen as an omen for change. In alchemy, the Raven King represents the transformative power of death and decomposition, which becomes the compost which is essential for the new seed and cycle of life. This is transmutation, and it's the first part in alchemy called the blackening phase. This card affirms a conscious choice to begin on the path of illumination, the first step towards achieving alchemical gold. Other times there's a struggle that accompanies the start of a journey. Oftentimes, that is because this stage involves the deconstruction of the ego and attachments to the material world. This is all this. You've got to let go of it before we can let your chariot fly. Okay. It might mean the death of your former self, which can often be seen as an illusion. Seen in illustrations as a person dying within a glass flask. That must be an alchemy. In order to evolve on our path, we must learn the process of surrender and letting go, which is a difficult task. Our habits die hard, but we can begin to toss what doesn't work for us anymore into the alchemical fire. If there's anything holding you back, this message is significant. It's time to release an old way of being and embrace your new way of seeing yourself in the world. The Raven King is about a period of self-discovery, a time to go deep within yourself and find your true nature. Okay, so what I'm saying is this alchemy, this moment of temperance and the Four of Swords is really key. So we know that the brakes are coming off, but before you need to let go of your old burdens, guilts, you need to start to see yourself in a new way. This makes a lot more sense now. Burning temporal concerns, stepping into the experience of the soul. It can be a dark time, but eventually a spark of light or understanding will create a breakthrough that moves us into the next phase, the inner light of wisdom. There might be a practice she's suggesting here, like yoga or magical practice that works for you. Or candle gazing. And then she describes her image. She says it's an engraving from 1830s publication based on Audubon's work. The raven symbolises the beginning of the magnum opus. Alchemists often connected nigredo, which is this beginning transmutation process, with the black sun, the soul nidja, which represents the blackening of matter. It is starting to crack and flake off, illustrating what alchemists called calcination, a process of heating a substance over high heat and reducing it to ash. This process by far is meant to destroy the ego and is a symbol of leaving behind the material world. The black flame shows the transmutation by fire. The golden crown symbolises the aim. He has a golden crown, this crow. It sits on top of the raven's crown chakra, the gateway to universal wisdom. Okay, you're on a big journey and you're having a little pause. I don't think I've got my teeny tiny tarot, which usually I finalise this reading with, but we have got the before tarot, which is interesting. It's the moment before, so let's see, because that actually is perfect for you because we're in the moment before you set off. Okay, so could we have a comment on this reading? The 10 of Swords, this is the moment, so it's like another 10, like the 10 of Wands. The moment before here, so let me see, the 10 of Swords is the death, the moment of this transmutation. And the moment before we see the final giving in, we see little heads being buried underneath there and him walking away. So you're at that stage of understanding what's dying off, like in that alchemical process, your old ego, your old ideas, because you're going on this epic, amazing quest, which is going to bring you back to the Six of Cups, going to use a lot of your strength and make you lots of money, I think. Yeah, and then in that moment of death, here we have the Page of Cups with a seagull trying to grab at his fish. Oh no, a seagull dropping the fish into his cup. So while you're waiting, this is a bit like the cup you didn't want to take in this cup, Four of Cups here. This is when you're not taking it. So through the process of transmutation, you're going to alight on some imaginative opening up, and then you're going to be given something from the heights, from your intuition, that I think is going to reignite your passion. And after this alchemical death, off you go. Amazing. Wow. Quite a big time. Well done. See you again.